Hi, and welcome for the Dream Big Summit today with James Sinclair. It's James A. Sinclair, correct?
Correct.
Because there are other James Sinclairs out there, but you are unique. James A. Sinclair, the movie maker of the movie.
What If the movie and the Grand Self movie.
Okay, so the What If, the movie, is the one where you interviewed Dr. Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Emoto from Japan, and a number of those kinds of people to all speak about the subject of what if.
Yeah, human potential, What if we're not our beliefs? What if we're not our limiting thinking? What if there's more to us than what we've been taught?
So that's the movie content. And for all the people who are watching this free part, I want to let you know right up front, James is giving away the link on this freebie button up here to the entire movie. So you can watch the movie, you can watch all the research people that you've interviewed giving their knowledge, their wisdom, which you've cut so beautifully together. It's lively to watch. It's like different answers, different people giving answers to specific questions, but all intermixed. So it's not this boring long monologue, but it's like this vibrant, cut together tapestry of insights. So tell me, what is the quintessence that you got from all these luminaires talking about the human potential? What is the human potential, and what do they base it on, and what do they say we can do?
Yeah, well, I had this desire to create this film, and I think the spiritual part of me wanted to meet all these people and learn more and grow, and the humanitarian part of me wanted to share that with others, and the creative part of me wanted to do that in a movie. And so it was a really good match. It just felt right, and I had this message inside of me that I wanted to share with the world, that I felt that I knew to be true. And so I gathered a team of experts to really help me convey this message. And we've received, countless testimonials. And my favorite ones are when people say, "Thank you for doing the movie. You confirmed what I always knew to be true inside of me." And this great expert panel confirmed that. I always knew we were limitless. And so to answer your question, they really showcase how our potential is really limitless. And not just from an airy-fairy new age, dreamy perspective, but from a grounded, practical, scientific sense that really,
Okay.
and here's how and here's why.
I get chills when people see that, and that's what we're doing in the summit, collecting expert. And I thought I'll invite you as the mouthpiece of all these experts that you've interviewed to share with us what the essence is that they have come and discovered. So when you talked about potential, or they said in a scientific way, this is really what's possible for humans, what did they say, for example?
Well, you probably read a lot of kind of new agey books, great books, from 20, 30 years ago that say whatever you focus on is going to become your reality. And that sounds really kind of out there, and unless you've experienced it. And so a lot of these scientific experts in the movie came together, and they said that when you are focused on a vision, for example, and you're vibrating at that vision, which just means you're in a feeling space of being there in that vision. They scientifically demonstrated now, and this is not pseudoscience, by the way. When the movie first came out, it was right at the borderline time, and now since the movie's been released, it's become double-blind studies and peer-reviewed science now that we really do scientifically create every atom in our lives. And so that means every person, every place, everything, every time, every event, every condition, every circumstance in our life is a reflection of our predominant thoughts. And they're showing, so here's an example. Einstein called it the Stark effect. And the Stark effect shows that atoms are completely controlled by the energy behind them. And the energy behind them is consciousness. So our atoms are constantly changing in our lives, in our bodies, so that includes our physiology, in our reality. Our reality is constantly morphing to reflect our deepest beliefs. And so
Awesome, awesome. I mean, that's what Dr. Lipton is so about, and he talks about epigenetics. So
Right.
down to the DNA that, I mean, I just watched and actually just posted on my Facebook page this person who's done all this research and become a living example. He comes from the DNA standpoint of view, from a lineage of obesity and digestive disorders, diabetes, and heart
Yeah.
failures. So
Yes.
his father and him had this big time, 80% potential for a big disaster coming. Well, him and his father set out to prove them all wrong and prove Lipton right. Dr. Bruce Lipton, who wrote his book, Your Beliefs, what was it again, the title of the book?
The biology of
The
belief.
Biology of Belief, that your beliefs, as well as how you live, how you breathe, what you think, how you place your vibrational attention within your vibratory body, affects your DNA and awakens certain parts of the DNA and doesn't awaken other parts that may be limiting. So that's exactly what you're doing, and what you're also going to promote in this next movie that you've already put together, the Grand Self, correct? The
Yes.
so,
Yes, yeah, the Grand Self movie. Yeah, the next movie is in a way a response to the first movie, to the feedback we received from the first movie. People wrote in saying how much they loved it. And they're like, "How do we do it? How do we actually, reprogram our genes? How do we change our thinking? It seems so hard." And so we've dedicated this next movie to answering that, as well as the companion course.
okay, so the how to is so important.
So
Yes. And so just this guy yesterday that I was watching, I mean, he is like, okay, certain foods will turn on or off certain things, like high fructose corn syrup.
right.
I mean, we all need to, and I do, but I am hoping to give a little bit of a message here. Please read the labels on the food you buy if it's packaged food. As a matter of fact, preferably don't even buy it. Make it fresh, because high corn fructose corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, hasn't been in our human DNA structure for ever, and now it's here, and people eat it and the brain can't comprehend it, but it activates parts of the DNA that will cause a chain reaction of negativity. So people like you, I mean, I'm not going to ask you how old you are because you don't like to say it, right?
Well, you know what? I believe that it's because of our belief structures and what we've learned, we have created an identity that is usually something that feels less significant than our source. And that's what I like to call the small self. And part of that identity
Right.
is made up of our age and our bodies and how we define ourselves and our name, everything like that. And that's part of the reason why I use A in my name, because I grew up James Sinclair, and James A. Sinclair helps to shift that. And anytime that you share your age because of people's judgments, there was a time in business not long ago where I lied about my age because people thought I was too young to be in business.
And you know what? That was the first thing that I had passed your video trailer to a German, to actually a Hollywood star in Hollywood who is a German author as well. And she said, "Oh, he's too young." And I'm like going, "No, no, no. He's like more in our camp, you know?" I mean, anyhow, I totally honor that, and there are different people dealing with it differently. I like to say my age and knock people out of their socks, because what women did that to me. They told me how old they were. When they were 55, I thought they were 35. And when they told me how old they actually were, I said, copy.
Yeah.
Mark that in my brain. Copy the ideal potential, because we all copy each other.
Yes.
So that's another way of dealing with it. But like, describe.
Yeah, and I've been blown away. I mean, I've met women in Los Angeles, who didn't have any kind of work done or anything, but who I thought at that time they were like around my age, which was at that time in LA was about 21, 22. And I thought they said 37. I was like, 37 can't be. And they said, no, 47. I said, 47. Like, I was just blown away.
Oh
And
my God.
that's when I first started stepping out of the box, because I came from Canada, and people that were, 40, 50 kind of looked like my mom and looked like a motherly type.
Yeah.
My mom also looks very young too, but and then I started realizing, oh, okay, so 47, 50 can also look like 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So you imprinted yourself with a good model. And I think that's what we do. The biology of beliefs doesn't go away just because we don't want to have beliefs. We will always have some form of limiter. It's just we can now choose the beliefs to create the access to the grander self, the name of your second movie, where you
Yeah,
want to give.
I believe that our biology is also a reflection of who we believe we are. Like, I am not this body, I'm not my age, I'm not my name, I am not my nose, I'm not my hands. I'm so much greater, and so are you, and so is every single soul out there. Every person is so much greater. But when we identify ourselves with our age, with our bodies, with our current financial place in society, then we start to take on that identity, and we think that's who we are. And then we also, and there's a very important thing with age too. You can say your age, you cannot say your age. Most of the experts that I've met, they're like, either say your age, either don't say your age, sorry, or count down
Mm-hmm.
every time that you celebrate a birthday, because they say when you enter the collective and you say your age, you can feel and start to pick up what everybody else expects. So, for example, when I'm running a company and people assumed I was early 20s, they said, "Oh, you'll learn more once you're in your mid 20s," and it was like, Yeah. But anyway,
And it reminds me of this amazing story of a Russian woman. I read a book. She was a healer, and what she did is every day she revisited photographs she'd picked out of herself when she was at different stages in her life down to babyhood. And then she ran this imaginary countdown back in her mind every night. She imagined herself at the current age, then years younger, until she was in the baby age stage. That's one way of, and she was apparently looking super young from the accounts of the other people. What
right,
I do, and it helps, I think. What I do is I found a place in my life where I felt really vibrant, good, and an age that I would like to hold on to. So just energetically, if I could be like, I do feel forever, like in that range, between mid 20s to mid 30s. So I picked this age. I picked 24 because I had a health issue and really not good years for the following almost 10 years. So I
oh,
picked the date prior to that. Yeah. So uh, I anchored that, and then I go inside and close my eyes. Now, do you ever imagine that age, that time? As a matter of fact, I wanted to just finish that guy who was saying don't eat fructose corn syrup and all that. He's like, your thoughts, your feelings about yourself, and that's what you're saying is revitalize your potential and don't focus on what is so much. It is here and you're more. So what is that? Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Can you help us walk us through that for maybe a little bit? Like, okay, so what is this more? What is that? How do I feel it? How do I get in touch with it?
Yeah, well, great question. So, I like to call it our true self or our grand self, that we have this unlimited potential within. And the mind likes to identify with images. So, so who we really are is actually a light body, and that is the true version of ourselves. And our physical body is really how much of the light body we're letting through, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. And that's why people, you can gauge your health, you can gauge your finances, you can gauge anything in your physical world is really a reflection of how much you're allowing or disallowing of this great inner being. And so because the mind likes to identify in pictures, I like to picture a light body. And sometimes people ask, well, what does that look like? And who we really are, true identity, for the purpose of the mind, is how you really want to look. What is your dream body? Because that's who you really are. And that's just a beginning point, because beyond that we're formless, and but
Beautiful.
that's a good beginning point for the mind. And when we begin to identify that, which is the essence of eternal youth, beauty, perfection, abundance, peace, stillness, creativity, inspiration, it's all of that. And so when we identify with ourselves beyond our body and our finances, this is the key. And this is what I believe even in religions, you know, like original Christianity and the Vedics from the East, these great teachers always sought to free us from the reflection of our lives, or the Maya, the illusion,
Okay, yes.
that appearances. So don't give that power. That's just what you created. Your deep beliefs that we're often unconscious of have created this, and don't give it power. Focus on who you really are. Practice the presence of God.
So it's like being the rider on the horse. Don't think you're the horse. You are the one that stimulates the energy, or the speed of the horse. You're the one who basically runs the show of your light body, and it's the beliefs you hold about yourself that determine the outflow. So in other words, if I think, okay, here I am, me, just me, and you know, we oftentimes think, you know, we're just the ordinary humans, you know, but
Yes.
really we are superhumans. We're super divine sparks.
Yes.
So reminding ourselves every day to step out of the identity to the non-identity state. And it's beautiful how you say, even then it has stages of evolution, eventually going into the pure consciousness, pure non-form. That light body is one version of, like you say, for the mind to
Yeah.
hold on to, right?
Yeah.
So when people step into this, and let me lead into this question. I want you to answer this question actually really in depth in the second segment of our interview.
Sure.
You also talk about gamma frequencies in meditation.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the the primary states, and then what gamma brainwave frequencies do. And then we will go into depth of how that activates your immortal body and your higher states of consciousness in the second part of our interview.
Sure. So you just want me to touch on it right now?
Yeah, maybe describe what the brainwave states do and how they feel.
Sure, sure. Well, most people when they enter meditation, they get relaxed into a relaxed state, and they usually enter what they call alpha, which is a more calm brainwave. It's a more calm state, and then if you go a little deeper, you get into theta brainwave activity.
So let's start out with normally, like when we talk and have our eyes open, we are in the beta brainwave state.
That's right.
The typical range is between 14 and 22 hertz, right?
Right.
Okay, so then talk us down, then alpha comes below that. So the brainwaves start relaxing, slowing down.
Yeah. So alpha, a lot of times when you close your eyes and you're just feeling a little bit drowsy and a little bit kind of detached from your body, you can go into a little bit of alpha, experience alpha brainwave. And then deeper is theta, and that's before the delta deep sleep brainwave state. But theta is a deeper version of alpha, is what I usually say.
Okay, so technically speaking, we come down from into alpha is between 12 to down to 8 hertz. That's 8 cycles per second. So the brain makes a speed or non-speed, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, right? It still sounds pretty fast, but really when we feel it, it's pretty slow, right?
Right. And people have experienced all kinds of great healings, epiphanies, connecting with their source, especially when they start to enter the theta brainwave.
Which is then between 8 and 4 hertz, 4 cycles.
Right.
But then, okay, so that's why the Dalai Lama practices with a bowl of marbles in his lap, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he puts a bowl of marbles in a bowl, and then another bowl on top, and another bowl with marbles on top, and then he goes into meditation. And if he ever so goes too deep, like into delta, he goes, boing, the whole marbles fall.
Right.
So that's one direction of meditation. So why would you think that is good to, you said people when they start out meditating, that's where they go. Tell me about why and what they can do to get there to begin with.
Sure. Well, I personally feel the importance of meditation. Of course, when we relax and when we calm down, that has a very powerful effect on our physiology. And but I think going deeper than that, when we really get quiet and calm and aware, we discover that there's a presence within us, all around us, that is and has been and is constantly trying to get our attention. It's constantly talking to us. And it is talking to us in the form of feelings for a lot of people, Sometimes people hear a clear, loving voice. It's always it's the essence of unconditional love that we begin to tap into. And that is who we really are. We're one with this source. And when we listen to it and begin to hear it and cultivate a relationship with this presence, I mean, it's our source of inspiration. I mean, this is where great works, great paintings, great books, great movies, films, everything has come from. Is this place. So when we listen to it, and it's the answer to all of our problems. In fact, the Sufis have a saying that I very much agree with. That is, the only problem in humanity is that we don't know who we are, and that we think we're limited.
Right. So reaching the unlimited, the portal to the unlimited part of ourselves requires that we reach into that quieter space.
Yeah.
And I see the breath comes with, I see you and me going into that state.
Yes. And so my experience is, many scientific studies have shown, when they've taken a group of Tibetan Buddhist monks that have been practicing compassion for 40 plus years, when they've measured their brainwave activity, they have a lot of theta and a lot of alpha, like a lot of meditators. But they also have something called gamma brainwave activity. And that's associated with super consciousness.
All right. So let's go with that ending into our next conversation. And now that we've taken the first step into relaxing and opening the portal to the inspiration to flow through us, which is the important beginning. And I might want to add, is something we need to do daily.
Yes.
It's not good enough to do it once a week.
Yes, very good point.
Yeah. So now we're going to jump right into part 2 for the All Pass Access members to talk about super consciousness and how it gets generated, what we can do. You're going to give us some techniques, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Awesome. Okay, and we'll dive deeper into that on the second portion. So thank you for having been here for this part 1. This is free for everybody, and I want to say thank you again for having offered the movie What If, the movie, free of charge to all members who've come to the summit. Thank you. And everybody can get that by clicking on that button just above here. And thanks for your generosity. I know you sell it. I know you need funds, but I know you also have, and that's what you said before we started, we need to get more of these messages out.
Right. And well, you're very welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, so that's beautiful. And James, you just hang on and we'll just be right back in part 2 for the second version. Okay, see you soon.